What if one battlefield capture could shatter trust between superpowers and rewrite the rules of war? That is precisely the crisis now erupting. In an astonishing turn, American military officers have fallen into Russian hands after a botched Ukrainian operation near Pokrovsk. This is no rumor, no deniable group of private contractors. These are uniformed, serving officers of the United States Armed Forces. Their identities are clear. Their capture is undeniable. Within hours, videos and photos of the Americans flooded social media. Faces, dog tags, fluent English, evidence impossible to dismiss. The footage raced across the globe, igniting a firestorm of shock and speculation. In Washington, the White House and Pentagon issued frantic denials, claiming no service members were missing. Yet with every new document, ID card, and piece of military gear shared online, doubt grew. The official silence became suffocating. International headlines exploded. Newsrooms buzzed with one question: how did American officers end up on the front lines? What was their true mission? As the world demanded answers, the stakes soared. Alliances, reputations, and the credibility of entire governments now hang by a fragile thread. If this crisis is misunderstood or ignored, it could unleash a seismic shift in the global order, one that may never be restored. Let us unravel the sequence of events that put American boots on this dangerous front line. What really happened in those crucial hours? How did the most powerful military on Earth become entangled in a shadow war? The answer begins outside the battered city of Pokrovsk, where a daring Ukrainian raid collided with a deadlier new phase of the conflict and unleashed consequences no one foresaw. After weeks of Russian gains, Ukrainian forces struck back in a calculated counterattack. Their aim was clear: show the world they could still fight. But Russian intelligence was ready. Their traps turned the outskirts into a kill zone, catching the attackers in a ruthless crossfire, an ambush echoing the dark arts of Cold War deception. Amid the chaos, a secret surfaced that could not stay hidden. Among the captured were not only Ukrainian soldiers, but American officers, uniformed, identified beyond doubt. Military identification cards, unmistakable United States insignia, and fluent English on video left no room for denial. Within hours, Russian channels broadcast the proof. Social media erupted. Yet in Washington, silence and denial prevailed. The Pentagon claimed ignorance. But as more evidence leaked, photos, identification tags, even satellite phones, the story could not be contained. The world watched as an unspoken barrier was shattered. The United States, long careful to avoid direct entanglement, was caught exposed. Whether by miscalculation or intent, American servicemen were now prisoners of Russia. The West's plausible deniability had evaporated. This was not just a battlefield loss. It sent shockwaves through capitals, London, Paris, Berlin, where leaders scrambled for answers. In Washington, the incident ignited a political inferno, especially as former President Trump seized the moment, blaming rivals for dragging America into war. Allies demanded answers. Adversaries sensed vulnerability. The stakes were suddenly global. Misreading this moment risked far more than the fate of a handful of captives. Alliances, reputations, and the fragile order holding the West together were all at risk. Trump's move to weaponize the crisis would ensure that this battlefield disaster erupted into a political reckoning with consequences far beyond Ukraine. As the world scrambled to process the truth, the crisis deepened. What happened next would test leaders and alliances in ways few dared imagine. Secrets once buried now blaze in the open. The world stares as Russian media broadcasts a shocking truth. American military officers, captured and unmistakable, are paraded on camera. Denial is no longer an option, and within hours, a political firestorm erupts. Donald Trump pounces, accusing President Biden of deceiving the nation and hiding direct military involvement in Ukraine. His words fuel a frenzy, dominating headlines and turning the crisis into an election weapon. The scandal grows larger than any single administration. America's allies are thrown into chaos. In NATO and the European Union, suspicion and outrage spread. British leaders press for answers, German commentators whisper about cracks in Western unity, and Parisian diplomats warn that the alliance could fracture if Biden's denials unravel. Moscow moves with cold precision. Russian officials release videos, documents, and confessions, claiming to expose the West's duplicity. Their message is unambiguous. Russia is not the aggressor. It is the revealer of hidden truths. American media tries to regain control, but the evidence is overwhelming. Images of captured officers and their insignia dominate the news cycle, leaving little room for Washington to maneuver. Confidence in American leadership collapses. Allies question every statement. Trust evaporates. Each new revelation deepens the sense of crisis and hints that the old order may be slipping away. The risks are existential. Western credibility teeters as calls for resignations and investigations echo across capitals. The fear is real. Alliances and strategies could be rewritten overnight. Now, with the world's gaze locked on Washington and Moscow, an urgent question lingers. Who will determine the future balance of power? As leaders scramble behind closed doors, public fury and private fear collide. The next moves will define not just this crisis, but the fate of global alliances. When the mask slips, a new and dangerous game unfolds. The world holds its breath as Russia transforms the capture into a diplomatic weapon, reaching out to China, India, and the entire BRICS alliance. Moscow reframes the crisis, accusing the West of aggression and using the moment to expose what it calls American interference and imperial ambition. As Russia raises its banner, calls for peace talks ring louder across Europe and beyond. Yet, beneath the surface, dread tightens its grip. Leaders quietly fear the conflict might spiral past Ukraine, pulling in rivals and allies alike. The possibility of a wider war becomes a shadow in every capital. Inside NATO, unity and restraint are the public stance. But in private, doubts multiply. Some allies whisper that the United States is losing its grip on the crisis. Trust, once the alliance's anchor, feels brittle, ready to snap. Western leaders face an agonizing choice. Should they admit the truth and risk political disaster, or deny involvement and cling to a story that now teeters on collapse? Either path threatens reputations and credibility, both at home and on the global stage. The incident quickly grows into something larger, a symbol, a breaking point. Old narratives about Western innocence and moral clarity begin to unravel. Russian media seizes the moment, while audiences worldwide start to question everything they thought they knew about military power and international law. In the United States, the impact is immediate. Veterans, activists, and ordinary citizens take to the streets, demanding an end to decades of costly foreign entanglements. The divisions are not just political, they run deep into the nation's identity. Now, the stakes are monumental. Alliances may fracture, global influence could drain away, and new power blocks rise to rewrite the rules. The world edges toward an era where trust is rare, and perception becomes the battlefield. Amid the turmoil, one question lingers. Can leaders and citizens learn anything before the next crisis arrives? Or is it too late to find a path back to stability? As the world reels, hidden forces move to exploit the chaos. The next act will reveal how far the fallout can reach, and who stands to gain most from the unraveling order. How do you separate truth from strategy when silence itself becomes a weapon? In this crisis, Russia's refusal to boast or explain has only strengthened their position. Every Western leader and citizen is now forced to question what they know. The measured quiet from Moscow deepens the uncertainty, keeping the West on edge and under relentless psychological pressure. We are witnessing a new era of conflict, where information, and the lack of it, are the sharpest tools of all. Russia's deliberate ambiguity has driven the world into speculation and doubt, igniting a wildfire of rumors in the void left by official statements. Each gap is quickly filled by fear, imagination, and political agendas. For ordinary people, this is a stark warning. Never accept headlines without scrutiny. Always question the story, seek out multiple sources, and remember to ask who benefits from your belief. Behind every leaked video, every silence, and every denial, motives lurk as critical as the facts themselves. Political leaders everywhere are being forced to confront a bitter truth. No secret, however well guarded, is safe from exposure. Today, a single leak or a well-placed silence can topple governments. Public trust, hard-won and fragile, can evaporate in a single night if leaders are caught concealing the truth. This incident exposes the fragility of global stability. When perception can overtake reality and truth itself is contested, the world becomes dangerously unpredictable. Those who control information, or choose when to say nothing, now hold the power to shape destinies far beyond the battlefield. If we do not learn from this, our societies could spiral into manipulation and division, losing the power to decide our own fate. In this age of manufactured reality, vigilance is not a luxury. It is a necessity for survival. But the world's attention is now fixed on the fate of those captured Americans and the responses from Washington and its allies. What happens next could redefine trust, alliances, and the future of conflict. When facts blur and reality itself splinters, which side of history will you choose? This is not just a dramatic headline. It is a crossroads that upends everything we believed about modern warfare, secret alliances, and the price of hidden agendas. Russia's capture of American officers did more than jolt the world awake. It shattered illusions and pulled back the curtain on the machinery that shapes our grasp of global events. Now, the truth is not just elusive, it is contested ground. Every revelation, every denial, risks tipping the balance between nations and exposing the fragility of trust. What you question or accept will shape not just your view of this crisis, but every story that follows. The ability to see through official smokescreens is not optional, it is survival. In an age when silence and ambiguity are wielded as weapons, your skepticism is your armor. The information you absorb does not merely reflect the world, it remakes it. Political futures, national security, even the delicate balance between rival powers can be destroyed by a single leak, a single shift in public trust. The stakes are not abstract. Your safety, your freedom to think, and your right to know the truth are all in the balance. Do not look away. Stay vigilant, demand clarity, and remember, the cost of complacency is steeper than any one disaster. It is the slow erosion of reality itself.